Good morning, everyone. So happy you could join us for the California Placement Association's bi-weekly webinars. I am Greg Friedman. I'm a board member from Northern California, Merced. And I want to introduce you to Rosalinda Rivas. She is our amazing president of CPA. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to her to do introductions and go from there.
Well, wonderful. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Honored to be part of this fabulous organization, California Placement Association. I'm wondering if we have any other board members. I am the president, and I am with Moreno Valley College, apprenticeship director. We are a volunteer board. Would love to have any of you that may be interested in volunteering. Elections are going to be coming up in May. Definitely interested in getting some board members added to our board. Do I have any other board members online right now? Greg, do you see anybody? I'm kind of looking through here.
I see Rosa.
Rosa, would you introduce yourself and share a little bit about you really quick?
Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our monthly webinar. I am the educational rep for the Southern region, and I'm excited to be here. I've been on the Placement Association for probably over 10 years. I stopped counting a while ago, but I think I've held every position on the board, and looking forward to today's presentation. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much, Rosa. And I see another board member, our president-elect and treasurer, Christina Lee. She will be the new president in July. So Christina, can you share a little bit about yourself really quick?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you, Keri. It's good to see you here. Yes, I am working toward being the next president for CPA next year. Been with CPA for over almost 7 years now. Just like Rosa, been in many positions in the past, step by step work my way up, and this is where I am today. And we're very excited to bring you webinars on wonderful virtual conferences, and upcoming next year we'll be together again at our annual conference together. So that'll be fun to see everybody again there. But thank you everybody today for being here with us.
Fantastic, thank you. And I do see Cheryl Baez. Cheryl, do you want to share a little bit about yourself? I'm introducing the board members first.
You hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, how are you? Good morning. My name is Cheryl Baez, and I'm the director of HR in a manufacturing facility in City of Industry. So glad to be here with you guys.
And she is one of our CPA Southern California region business partners that is part of the board as well. Is there anybody else that I might have missed that's on the board? I'm trying to go through these pages, but I'm not sure. All right, I think that's all the board members we have today, but we do have quite a bit of board members. Not all of them are available to be here today, but let us move forward with introducing a former president of the California Placement Association, Keri Aaver, sorry. Let me share a little bit about her. She has been in training and career development. She's been a specialist in workforce development. She's also been in higher education. She truly found her niche in building effective teams that can fast track job seekers into, here we go, sustainable employment. She does this by utilizing what's called Gallup strengths-based approach to career development training and leadership for a positive, what we all know as a diversity, DEI focus for individual and team success. She became an entrepreneur at a very young age, starting and developing several successful domestic and international companies before following a lifelong passion for helping others to live their very best lives on a focused career life planning. She has recently retired, and you are too young to retire, just to know, but she recently retired from the College of the Canyons, which is part of the California Community College District. She was working there full-time doing workforce, and now she's doing workforce consulting, coaching, and she's she was there full-time, as I was saying. Let's see, I'm kind of skipping through here. She's had such a huge impact in workforce development in the lives of many women and immigrants in her career transition. In about 2010 is when she switched over and went exclusively old school with some of the methods of professional networking, incorporating a lot of the LinkedIn and other online platforms to connect job seekers to employers. And this was very successful, and she applied these approaches to transforming our career center team in an online, what they call powerhouse for serving students, alumni, community members to gain employment at the speed of LinkedIn. Let's go through that again. At the speed of LinkedIn. And if you're not connected with her on LinkedIn, please do so.
That's way more than enough about me, quite honestly. I'm here to help the people in here. So that was probably, whoa, that was a really long.
A long intro, but very worthy. I just want to say we're thankful for you to be here. And do you want to go ahead and kick us off? You have a lot of information to share, so I'm going to shut down and I'm going to leave it to you. So Keri, go ahead. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. California Placement Association, it has always been and continues to be my, it's my people. You guys are my people. This is my home association. Even though, I'm on a committee with the National Career Development Association now, their technical education committee. It's like two best friends, I guess, different, serve different needs. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me here today. So my goal today is to really help you reignite if that's where you're at. It's been a rough couple of years. So, we've been through a lot of different stuff. And so I want to help you reignite and maintain your career motivation and that of your clients, your students, depending on what environment you're in. And I'm really passionate about this because, you guys are the helpers. You have such huge impact on people in their lives because people spend most of their life working. And so I really want to be part of ensuring that we don't have more of the great resignation than necessary in the workforce and in career services, because we've seen a lot of it, right? We know about the great resignation, or Gallup refers to it as the great discontent. There's other terms too, great migration, the great reshuffle, where employees actually leave their jobs, but they don't go back to what they did before, or some don't even go back to the workforce. And an example that I like to bring up, I should probably look at more current data, but in November of 2021, we had about 10.6 million individuals. Let me get this off my screen. Or 10.5 million jobs that were available, actually. And we're just talking about November. In 6.7 individuals got rehired in November. But at the same time, the 6.7 million got rehired of those 10.5 million, another 6.3 quit or separated from their jobs, which, that's about 4.3 million that voluntarily left their roles as we came into this, rolling into this great discontent. And, there's a new pandemic happening all over the world right now, and we're seeing it here, we're seeing it everywhere. And so motivation for me is really, really important. I know as a career advisor, a job developer over the years, I work with clients all the time, and that hasn't changed, where clients come in and they're just not, you're trying to help them get a job. And sometimes you feel like you're the one trying to, push and pull them through to getting a job. They don't seem to have the motivation. And actually many years ago, probably 10 years ago, I spoke at CPA. I was asked to just step up in one of the regional meetings and talk about motivation because it was such a problem then. And I know it's still a challenge now, but on top of that, now we've got ourselves and our workforces that experience this great discontent. When there's transition, there's so much transition and change happening. It can have a drastic impact on our own motivation. And so it becomes even more difficult to try to bring the motivation out in others when we're kind of lacking it ourselves. So, and one of the things with all those layoffs I was talking about, or not the people losing their jobs and coming back into work, if there were 10 employees in a company and 4 of them decided to leave, they're like, no, I don't like the restructuring, I don't like the new boss I have, I don't like the direction they're going now, this is no longer for me, they didn't treat me well during the pandemic, whatever the situation was. If 4 people leave, now there's 6 people left, and organizations are having a hard time, from workforce organizations, schools, you name it, private industry, refilling those positions. And so 6 employees that are left are trying to pick up the slack for all these other positions. And because of all the financial impacts too, there's just, you're living it. We're all living this together, right? Is that, and I'm trying to turn my phone off as I do this. We're living that experience of change right along with the people that we're trying to help. So I want to start by just, kind of asking, where are you right now? Let me get to my next slide there. And if you could put it in the chat, a word or something that gives me an idea where you're at now. in terms of motivation, so thinking about your own motivation, or you can talk about the motivation of the clients you work with. You know, are you still engaged in the work you do on a scale of 1 to 10? And you can just put a number in the box. Would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, your, you know, where is your motivation and engagement in your current job? Because that's one of the biggest things. When motivation is lacking and things fall into place, there is an ebb and flow. And, you know, I'm getting a yay. I'm so thrilled to see a lot of 10s. Oh my gosh, I love to see that. And that, you know, shows because you're here. The people that are 2s and 3s right now, a lot of them probably would not show up to a workshop like this. So as I'm talking to you about motivation and things, since it looks like, there's a lot, and we're all experiencing loss too. Everyone has had some form of loss. It's always hard to lose people we love. And then you still have to keep going on. So how do you get that maintained? You know, how do you maintain that energy? It looks like a lot of you, I'm great to see this. I'm trying to catch them, but I can't really read the chat quickly as I'm going, but you know, are you energized at the thought of going to work each morning, or are you counting the days till Friday, right? It seems like a lot of you are energized, and that's really exciting. That kind of brings joy to my heart to see that, because the work that we do is so important. And then the last piece of that, you know, that kind of question is, do you have a clear vision of, and you can just put a yes or a no. Okay, yeah, and we still have unemployment, sometimes by choice, sometimes not. Sometimes transitions happen to us, whether we want them to or not. And then we get stuck in this place of where's our motivation, right? Do you have a clear vision of where you want to go next, or why you're still doing what you do now? So let's just put in the chat, you know, let's just stick with the first one. Do you have a clear vision of where you want to go next? Just a yes or a no. If I could get some responses on that, kind of just take a test of where you're at, because this helps me a lot. Okay, we got some yeses, we got some nos, 10s, yes. Okay, so there's a mix of it. And knowing that and having that vision really does have an impact on motivation. So what is motivation? And you're right, yeah, Arnita, there are so many options, more options now than we've had like in forever, right? In the history of career development, there's, you know, a first world problem, too many choices, right? So let's talk about motivation a little bit first. So motivation is, you know, I just put from one of the textbooks that when I'm teaching psychology, one of the descriptions I put up there, a set of factors that activate, direct, and maintain behavior, usually towards a goal. So there's a couple different ones. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because of what you guys do. I know that you're probably familiar with this. So there's different types of motivation, external motivation that comes from outside of you. Your boss telling you, you need to get this many placements or we're going to lose our funding. That's an external motivation. Internal, you know, that's, you know, when you own it, when you own that, you know, that I'm driven to do this because, you know, I want this result, I'm heading in this direction. And, you know, part of developing motivation and the momentum, getting that, maintaining motivation, momentum is switching, making sure that you or your clients, if you find that there is an external motivation driving them, that's really important because it talks about, we're going to talk about Maslow just for a minute here in a minute, and then lead into engagement. But it's going to be important that you are able to convert that external motivation to an internal motivation in order to maintain that constant motivation. And for your job seekers, the students, the clients that you're working with, helping them to do that is going to make your life easier because it's going to help get them more engaged in what you're trying to do to help them find employment. So let's see. Just we're not going to go over these slides. I'm going to make the assumption that everyone here is familiar with Maslow's motivation pyramid. But I'm going to talk about, I have 3 different pyramids I'll just pull up quickly. But you see you know the format, you know, those foundational parts of that pyramid is you've got to have these things in place. You know, you have to have some type of security in place before these other pieces come into play. And here's kind of the summary of it: the security, a sense of security, you're safe, the basic, life, food, water, shelter, the sense of identity, knowing who you are, where you're going, sense of belonging, knowing how to love, knowing that you are loved, a sense of purpose, to know, why you're here, what you're going to do with your life, and then a sense of personal competence. You have the ability to achieve your goals. So since a lot of you were saying, yeah, I'm motivated, I'm an 8, I'm a 9, and a 10, you're really working out of this top, this personal competence, this purpose, this belonging. And typically in this current environment, what that tells me is that where you're working, either you just, have enough autonomy that you can do what you need to do, or your organization is supporting you, or you have some type of support network. But we have a lot of job seekers out there that don't have that. And I think this great discontent has really come out of that. So when we see that when employers started hiring again, and the job seekers were not showing up, they weren't showing up at the job fairs. They weren't showing up at interviews. They were ghosting employers. This is still happening, right? And I think a lot of that is because they can't live, some of them can't live in this top part, this personal competence, purpose, and belonging, because they're a little bit foggy on this whole identity. It's the last 2 years has really thrown them for a loop. And they're not sure where their motivation is anymore, which feels like a lack of motivation, but it's really not. And that's one of the reasons I love talking about motivation, is we all have motivation. It's always there all the time. And our clients always have motivation. When people say to me, oh yeah, teenagers, they're just so unmotivated, it drives me nuts, right? Because they're not really, but maybe they're not motivated in the same way, or to do the same things that people in the external, their parents, teachers and whatnot might want them to do. So there's two things really when we're talking about, motivation and building motivation, momentum, that we're really going to focus on kind of all of these in segments. We're going to cover 3 different topics: clarity, commitment, and change, and how these impact to create momentum and sustain it for you. Go on to the next slide. So I want to start with talking about engagement a little bit, because and this is something I use with Gallup with strengths. So this is called the 12 elements of engagement. So the pyramid is very similar. It does look somewhat like Maslow's. It is related to it. But what ends up happening is when you're in organizations where there's a lot of shift and a lot of change that is happening, oftentimes this can be flipped upside down. Somebody loses their job. A few of you posted in there, you're unemployed, and if you're not unemployed, you're working with people that are unemployed or are trying to get better employment. This can be flipped upside down, right? And when it's flipped upside down, people are so busy working on those basic needs, or their individual contribution, is where I think motivation really gets stuck. Basic needs, because of the types of work that you're doing there, whether you're in a workforce agency or a career center, probably a big part of what you do, depending on the client, is helping to connect them to resources. So most of what we're going to be talking about today is this individual contribution, this piece of engagement, because people are leaving their employers or not wanting to go back to work because they felt like they weren't valued. They had a lot to give. They wanted to help. They wanted to do. And maybe their organizations shifted and changed, and they were no longer able to do the work they loved, or their entire job description could have shifted, right? So we're going to be living kind of in that space of the individual contribution, in focusing on that with clarity, making a commitment, and starting to make change that will, as you go through these steps, is actually going to increase motivation. You can use these for yourself, to help make sure that you maintain your motivation as the workload increases, but you can definitely use them with the job seekers that you're assisting. So, actually, I'm going to go back here because I had some things I want to cover. So, let's see. What are some of the things, since we have a lot of 8s, 9s, and 10s in there, if you can put in the chat, what are some of the things that you do to stay motivated or to stay engaged in your job on a daily basis? Are there any practices or activities that you do that you know, hey, it keeps you on track. I'd like to see some of what you guys have out there. Let's see if we, oh, nothing, there we go. Follow up with clients, connecting with other colleagues. That's wonderful, having that fellowship with other like-minded individuals. Does anyone have habits? I wonder, let's see, learning new ways to be creative on the job, defining your why and your purpose, researching labor market. Oh, you're very special to like to research labor market information. You know, everybody needs you on their team. Engaging in platforms like this, feeling connected with your students, and hearing back from them, feedback, right? Yeah, that's fantastic. We're going to talk about the difference between feedback and feel back here in a minute too. This is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So another thing too, which we can use with clients, which is just a little thing. So when I was running what do you call it, the Career Center at the College of the Canyons, one of the things that we had in play was employment action plans. And the reason we used employment action plans with our job seekers was even job seekers that seem motivated, because people will put their best face on sometimes when they come into you. Oh yeah, this is great, and I'm going to do this, and I'll see you in a week. And then they cancel their appointment, or they don't show up, or they show up and they didn't do what you asked them to do the week before, right? So one thing that I did is use an employment action plan, and ultimately, it kind of mirrors the types of things that I do, and I've been doing since probably about 6th grade. But it's like using a planner where, you know, every day, you know, at the end of every workday, I would always stop and I would write on a little 3M sticky. You don't even need a booklet, right? And I would write, what are my top 3 priorities for tomorrow at work? And I would put that right in the middle of my monitor. So when I came in, I didn't get distracted by people popping in the office or all these other things that popped into my inbox, all these different things that came along. You can do something as simple as that with students, but I really encourage, if you're trying to build their momentum and get them going, if you give them an employment action plan, which could be as simple as something you print out, or an email or text or something you send to them that says, okay, here's the three items that you're going to focus on. These are the 3 priorities that you've come up with. And whether you give them a weekly priority, and I don't mean give them, whether you determine together, working together, what those are going to be, it's really going to empower them. And they need to be small enough so that they can accomplish them very easily, especially the first week. It could be something unbelievably easy, like if they're using LinkedIn, change your LinkedIn URL. Maybe you'll do it right there with them when you're meeting with them. Or maybe it's doing an informational interview and you're thinking, and they're like, oh yeah, I've got like 5 employers I'd like to do that with. Don't give them a goal to do it with 5 employers, give them a goal to do it with 1, right? But having a few things that they know when they walk out the door, here's 3 very doable things that I can do, and I have a deadline that I'm going to do them. So that's really going to help. And oh my gosh, there's so much I want to cover. I better move on, or how are we doing on time? Maybe Greg, if you can every now and then put the time in there, because I can't see it on my screen. We have only
about a half an hour.
Okay, all right, yeah, I got to jump ahead. I'm going to definitely go ahead, but you know, oh, there's so much I could give you here, but you know, oh Lord, yeah, let me just jump ahead. Okay, so talking about the 3 C's of motivation: clarity, you know yourself, commitment, choosing a path and committing to it, at least for now. Don't let people get caught up in, you know, especially, you know, younger individuals. They're like, oh, I've got to choose this for the rest of my life. No, but you're going to help them define their clarity of where they're headed, so they're going in the right direction. And then taking those steps, moving towards making any little bit of progress towards their goals, actually starts to maintain their motivation, starts to build and maintain their motivation. So some of the tools you guys may have used, and I've been using, you know, since first reading in 6th grade, What Color is Your Parachute, with Richard Bolles, you know, is doing different types of dreamscapes or mind maps to kind of put everything out on paper. What am I good at? What are my skills? What are my talents? What are my abilities? And this fits right in with, you know, I'm a very strengths-based coach. We don't focus on what they need to improve on nearly as much as we focus on what they've already got and what that brings to the table. And so in this clarity stage, doing things like that if they're visual, those mind maps to kind of get things out there. When you work with them on creating their resumes, that's a great way for them to be bringing that clarity out as they're building it in there, and they're thinking, what did I accomplish? What did I like about that job? What do I want other employers to see that I did well? Those are all tools that help them define, right, give clarity for themselves as to what they want and where they're headed. Some other ideas, with doing kind of this dreamscape type activities. What are you passionate about? What do you want to be as a child? Or what did you want to be as a child? What was your dream job? We've heard these over the years, but it's really effective. You don't give them all to them all at once. You give them a couple different things. And I tried to put a bunch of different examples on here so you can screenshot or what have you. If you need some promptings to help you when you're coaching the students or clients or the workforce, the job seekers. What would it look like? Now, I did this back in 6th grade with What Color is Your Parachute? I really dove in and, had a very clear picture of what I wanted my life to look like. And that's really, there's a lot of books that have come out answering why. I think Fleming wrote that one. There's a lot of these ones that are coming out that, we need to get away from.
What's your last name?
My last name?
Huerta.
Excuse me?
Her last name is Aaver. I put in the link, her LinkedIn link, so that you can connect with her directly.
That's not actually, that's not my LinkedIn link. It's Keri.Aaver. So www.linkedin.com/in/Keri.Aaver. So you got it close, Rosalinda. That's pretty close. Let's see, where was I? Okay. So having them really spend some time, give them the permission to really spend some time thinking about what do you want your life to look like, because it's so much easier to work back from that. The Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind, is such an effective approach. We know how many books he's sold of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So these are just some questions. The next slide is just a few more questions of different things that they could ponder, or you can ponder when you're thinking about you're in this clarity phase. Ultimately, this whole clarity phase, and I'm just pausing here a minute as I'm talking, so if you want to do a screenshot or something, the clarity phase is really going to set the tone for the commitment and the change that you're going to make. So you need to take some time doing this, and a lot of people don't take thinking time. They're so busy, we're so busy, we're going that. So if you have workshops and things that you're putting on, or you're working one-on-one, do this when they're sitting right in front of you. Give them the time during that workshop or during that presentation to actually answer some of these questions or whatever you put out for them. Otherwise, it'll become something else on their to-do list, one more overwhelming thing that they want to do, but they don't get to do. So try to make sure that when you're working with them, that you engage them by actually giving them time to do this. Maybe throw them into breakout rooms and talk about it. This is starting to add to their motivation because they're starting to do what I call name it, claim it, and aim it, right? So if any of you are familiar with Clifton Strengths, you are, saying, hey, this is what I like, this is what I want, this is what I want to do. And you're saying, hey, I can do this, I want to do this. Now I'm going to aim it and figure out how to get there. All right, so in organizations, I can't cover all of this. I'm gonna have to cut some of this out. But when I do a lot with strengths. When you know what your greatest workforce strengths are, you can better design the career that you want, the career that you desire. I wanted to cover some more in here. Maybe I'll give one example. So for example, if someone you're working with, they're kind of all over the place, they don't seem motivated. If you can use a tool like Clifton Strengths, or there's other discovery resources. I listed a few of the ones I've used over the years on there. Oh, there's a typo. Different again, the different questions, they're all assessments. In Clifton Strengths, I use it because it gives me more prompts as a coach that I can say, okay, for example, if someone has a strength of consistency, then it's a person that's really acutely aware of the need to treat people the same. They crave stable routines, clear routines and procedures that everybody can follow. And having standard operating procedures will help create greater work satisfaction because it promotes cultural predictability. So this works 2 ways. If and it doesn't necessarily have to be Clifton Strengths, that's the tool I use, but If you know what their strengths are with the people you're working with, then the suggestions or the questions that you ask them to get them to take action are going to be more effective. Because in a case like this, if someone has consistency, then you know, if you're in a job search mode and you want to help them start to build motivation and momentum, then if you can help them develop while you're meeting with them some practices that will say, okay, every day at 9 o'clock, you're going to do this one thing. That one little step that they do every day is going to fuel and kind of push forward the rest of their day. And so knowing more about their strengths and them knowing and understand their strengths will help them to do that for themselves and also for yourself. When you know your own strengths, it definitely helps you to you know, it increases your engagement when you're able to utilize those strengths in workplace. And when we don't have it, that's when we get this great discontent that's really you know, still growing. It is not, there's no sign of it slowing down or shrinking much right now. All right, I'm going to jump ahead on this just in the interest of time, because I'm only about halfway through the slides and things I want to cover. But I do want to talk about this. Here's an activity I'd like to encourage you to take a look at. If you have somebody that's just really stuck and they're like, I don't know, like, you know, somebody had mentioned, I think in the chat about, there's just so many options. I don't know which way to go. You know, have them draw a line across the paper. I call this an energy matrix. And you're going to have four, you know, you don't have to necessarily have four quadrants, but if you put a line in the middle, and you want to have them list off all the things they're good at on one side and all those things they're not so good at on the left-hand side, right? And you can do this for yourself. I really would encourage you, even you can probably do it now as we're talking, you could draw a line across it. And then on the top right-hand side, I want you to put out those things that you are good at, and that when you do them, it increases your energy. You know, I'm good at, to give you an example of what you're going to put on, you know, on underneath that line, I'm good at accounting and finance. And well, I don't know if good is exactly the best word for that, but I've had to do it a lot. I've been a CFO. I've done a lot, you know, financial budgeting in, you know, in my career. I can do it, and I can do it pretty well. I don't like it. I really dislike it. And the more I have to do that, the more it drains my energy. So that's something I'm good at, but I would put that in the bottom right-hand quadrant because I'm good at it. But if I have to do too much of that, it's really going to take away from my energy. Then there's those things that I love to do. If I can be an advocate for someone else, if I can help other people, if I can maximize other people's strengths to help them utilize what they already have in place to develop the career that they want for themselves and to you know, achieve greater financial success. So that's what you want on the right-hand side, above and below the line. Then on the left-hand side, on the top, you're going to put what are those skills that maybe you're not so good at, but you want to get better at, and you're even excited about the idea of learning it. And you know that it's related to your career goals. And maybe it's in discussion with the clients you're working with, you find out they want to do this particular job, but to do this job, they need to know Salesforce. So someone in that situation might be like, oh, to do that job, I have to learn Salesforce. Ugh, you know, I don't want to do that, right? I don't like that kind of stuff. I just want to work with people, or whatever the case is. So that might end up being a skill they need to develop that drains them. So that would go below the line. But if it's not, if it's something they're like, oh, Salesforce, I've really wanted to learn that. Yeah, absolutely. And all these jobs I'm looking at, they want me to know how to do that. Then that becomes a skill to develop that fuels them. Having this information is going to help you to help come up with steps for them to commit to start making change. So hopefully that's an activity you guys will like and enjoy using for yourself and for your clients. So I'm going to skip right over the mission statement, sadly, because I think it's, you know, really important. But the one thing I will say, and again, you can screenshot it. Nightingale has a automatic personal mission statement link that you can go to, but I think it's down right now. They're updating it, so it should be really nice once they redo it, even nicer than before. So, but here's some different things that you're looking at when you're creating a mission statement. It's really just to inspire it answers these different questions, what change you want to create. And I don't have time to go over them, but just give you an example. So my mission is to inspire and really support women. That's my main focus, is working with women to develop satisfying careers that utilize their strengths, increase their finances, and create the lifestyle that they desire. And I've been doing this for about 30 years now. And I do it by providing guided career coaching, short-term career development action courses, career development certification for career professionals, and workforce development coaching and consulting for companies and organizations that they work for. And this is important to me. And this is a part that's, really key when you're doing these things. Make sure that you put down why, the why as to why it's important to you. For me, this is important to me. This mission for me is very important because I believe that women really underestimate their value and they settle for much less than they deserve and desire because of limiting beliefs. And so my purpose is really to help them see beyond their limiting beliefs, to take action, to achieve their own missions in life. And in turn, I believe that when people live happy, financially stable lives, the gifts they receive overflow into the lives of the people around them. And so that is part mission statement and part driving mission for myself. So if you're creating a mission statement, it would be much shorter. You'd put it to memory and whatnot. But anytime I feel like my motivation is lacking a little bit, or if I have those days where you're stuck in bureaucracy and not so much in doing the work you love, when you have that, you can go back to that again. This is going to help you with your motivation. So moving on to commitment very quickly, be like a postage stamp. Stick to one thing until you get there. We live in a world of multitasking. Be a unitasker in a multitasking world. Really, I mean, if you want to speed forward to accomplish things more quickly, to get you from where you are to where you want to go and keep you motivated, give yourself the permission to do one thing so that you can actually finish something. I wonder, maybe those of you that have your videos up or something there, I don't know, I can't even see you guys, so it'd be a moot point, but I wonder how many of you have ever had 3 or 4 or 5 or more books all going at one time, because there's so many things that you want to study, you want to read, you want to learn, we want to learn how to do this to help somebody or whatever it is. And then think back to how many times you didn't finish not one of those books because you had too many books going at the same time. So darn it, I wish I could see your faces right now, because usually when I talk about that, I've got people moaning and groaning and just thinking, yep, that's me. So, all right, moving right along. So in terms of commitment, when it comes to motivation, commitment really does motivate you. And so we know about goals. I'm not going to go into SMART goal setting, but having commitments that you've written down that have SMART goals that, are well chosen, that save you time, energy, money in the long run. If you have goals, if you take time to plan, if you give yourself time to plan, I honestly think that one of the most effective workshops that we can do in workforce centers or even in companies and leadership, managers, all that, is having time not just to come and present to them on topics, but to have time where as you're going over each of these different things, they actually get to apply it right then and there. Because again, oftentimes that's the only time you're going to get things done, is when you are put in a situation that allows you that time to accomplish your planning, you're thinking things out. So you can choose a broader, narrow career path and design a plan to get there. Either one doesn't matter, because you're going to be heading in the right direction, but a path well chosen will at least get you in the general vicinity. We know that the difference between the shotgun approach, right, or a more focused approach, but now it's been flipped. Now it's not just a focused approach doesn't mean I'm going to get this degree for that job. A focused approach means this is the kind of work I want to be doing, and here's the skills and the training that I need to get, whether I get it through an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a certificate, online courses at Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, wherever it is. You need to know what those skills are that you're going to enjoy doing, that you want to improve on, that are going to help you achieve those goals. And when you help put those little steps in place, those little short courses or a little hour and a half presentation on something that is going to help someone engage them in learning that, it's going to increase their motivation. How does commitment or goal setting help your motivation? It creates more positive, It encourages activities that support the attainment of your stated goals and discourages activities that don't support attainment of your stated goals. If you don't have a plan, I mean, I use that one all the time. Well, if you don't have a plan, then you're planning to fail, right? Goal setting energizes individuals, and thus they put in more effort towards, achieving their goals. Goal setting affects persistence or devotion to a task, and it indirectly affects many other actions. If you know, and if you can always go back to your mission and your goals and your steps, and you have broken down into little reasonable things. I never have more than 3 things prioritized in any one day. If you've got a list of 10 priorities, you got to figure out where you can scale back, what you can delegate, or go back and reprioritize, which I'm trying to get to right now, is because I want to talk about the prioritizing. When you I lost you guys for a minute. When you prioritize your goals and refer to them often, you ask yourself these questions, will this action move me towards my top goal or priority? If you keep coming up with stuff that do not, then you're in that priority matrix, which you'll see on the next slide briefly, but I'm not going to stay on it, but where you're getting stuck doing too many important things, too many urgent things that are not important. You don't want to live in that space, or you'll just be like in a whirlpool and your motivation will shrink. So you have to maintain focus on those goals so that you'll stay, in that important and urgent space. Attack your goal of finding a job, for example, with many different approaches. A lot of you, I recognize some of the names there. I know a lot of you have been doing this a long time, and you know what works. You've seen what works, and you can help people get there. And sometimes it's going to be giving them small enough steps that they don't even realize you're trying to get them to approach it differently than they did before. And before you know it, these little steps that you've given them are going to create a perspective change for them. But it's also, joy is a worthy goal of attainment. And that may be, depending on who you're working with or yourself, maybe it should be a top priority for you, depending on what's happening in your life right now. Career, social, financial, physical, community, there's so many different ones. But thinking back, an easy way I like to do it is think back, remind myself sometimes, when was the last time I had a really great day? Why was it great? What was it about that day that felt so great? And then I take my prioritized categories, whether it's career, social, physical, community, whatever they are, and think, okay, well, which of those categories were involved in that great day? That's one way to figure out what your priorities should be, because if you want to replicate those days where you're in flow and you feel great, you want to always go back to prioritizing those things that put you into that space. So I'm not going to go over that. That's that priority matrix. Hopefully you've all seen that. You're familiar with that. I was looking to see the notes. Go on to the next slide. Another piece, I'm not really going to go into it, but part of making a commitment is time management. Spend your time wisely. You can't get it back once you've spent it. I don't know who quoted that. I should have put it down there, but prioritizing really ensures that you don't set too many goals, and keeping it minimal. Again, you want to suck away your motivation, then have too many goals, have too many lists of things that you want. Throw them all up on paper. You got somebody or yourself, you have tons of things you want to do. You got all these ideas. I don't have them in here. They have these big 3M stickies that are like, I don't know how big that is, 12 by 12 or something. Do one for each idea you have and just throw everything up on paper and then set it aside. Once you've thrown up everything you can think of that you want to do, that you'd like to do, where you're headed, sit back and look at those different, sheets of paper. It doesn't have to be these 3M stickies. Go back to prioritizing of all these different things I want to do. Which one is most important to me? Which one is going to immediately bring me to that place of, this is great. I feel good. I'm living in the zone, and put them in priority basis, order based on that. So, oh my gosh, yeah, I can't even get into the 80-20 rule every hours, but this is the one key I would say, when we're working with people, 3, for some reason, 3 is the magic, is the magic number. Thank you, Greg. I have 15 minutes. You're saying plenty of time. I'm going, no, I've got too much to cover still. But You know, 3 to-dos, and I want to be able to answer questions then too. So be thinking if you have questions about, you know, any of these, you know, the clarity, the commitment, or the change, and, you know, you can pop in, you can ask questions, you can put them in the chat anytime you want to, and Greg will alert me to it and will answer questions. Otherwise, I'm trying to give us at least a few minutes towards the end to answer any questions, additional questions you might have. Or give you any more ideas that I can help you with. So, but 3 seems to be the magic number. I've been doing this for 3 decades, where sometimes I use planners. I have a full focus planner. I change them up from year to year. I give them as gifts all the time. I love to give my staff different types of planners and things, but any planner I've ever given out usually has 3 items. What are your 3 priorities for tomorrow? It'll have other different things, and depending on the person, but it always goes back to what are you going to prioritize? What are those 3 priorities? That has helped me to accomplish an enormous amount. You know, since I, graduated high school, I would say. But change, so we have clarity and commitment, right? You know, prioritizing and coming up with what are those steps going to be? What are you going to prioritize every day? You know, what are you committing to doing? Okay, tomorrow, these are the 3 things, come hook or crook, this is what I'm going to complete. And then change. So change itself, when you have small enough goals and you have clear enough goals and steps that you're going to take, that change in and of itself is going to create motivation. So, I love this Jim Rohn quote. He's one of my favorites. If you're not following, reading his books, check him out. You cannot change your destination overnight, because you'll get these people in front of you, right, that are like, oh, I don't know, it's hopeless. It's like, I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to afford, to move out, or I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to afford to get a car, and I'm tired of taking public transportation, whatever it is. But even though you can't change your destination overnight, you can change your direction overnight. And that's why I love this quote, because it's so true. When people are stuck in this place of, I don't know, and I'm not sure which way to go. And if you can help them understand that, look, you're not going to change everything about your life overnight, but in this moment today, sitting in front of me, I can help you change the direction you're going, so that you're heading every day as you're moving forward, you're moving in the direction that you want to go. And that is going to start building motivation for them. So change your perspective, or what do you call it? Change your actions. It's not enough to create goals. You actually have to take those steps, right? So you deciding to find a job does become their job. And it's some of the people, if you get people in front of you that seem no motivated at all, I guarantee you these little tiny steps that they accomplish, building one on top of another. If you need to, if you have someone that is totally unmotivated, then tell them, what's your schedule look like? Oh, okay, I want to meet with you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day this week. Maybe the first week you have such tiny goals that they're tiny, they could do them in 5 minutes. After they get off of the plan, you're off of the meeting with you, they could do it and be done in 5 minutes. But you're holding them accountable. You're going to check in with them tomorrow, and they're like, you ask them, did you finish your goal from yesterday? Yeah, I did. It only took me 5 minutes. Great. All right, we have another goal for tomorrow. And in 1 week, in one little tiny week, if they've made 5 little tiny steps moving towards where they want to go, by the following week, you're going to have a much more engaged job seeker. And even doing the same thing with yourself. If you're in those places of overwhelm, grief, you're a place where you're just getting up is enough each day. And you'll have people like this right now too, that are just, I just have to breathe. I just have to move forward. Even if I don't want to move forward, the tiniest little things, without them, it's sneaky, right? This is a sneaky thing, but it works. Tiny little successes are going to build their momentum and start moving them forward. So this is why we like to track our progress, right? Because if you can write down, if you're doing employment action plans, or you're tracking what they're doing, okay, here was that first week, a month from now, you're looking back and they're having a day where they're like, I still haven't got the job I want, or I got this job, it doesn't pay enough, whatever it is. You say, but you know what, look how far you've come. Look where you were from where you are. Let's put some more challenging goals in place. Then you accomplished all of that. Let's step it up a bit. We're gonna strengthen that muscle a little bit for change. So keeping track of those things is really key. People underestimate that. I mean, I think about, You know, you see those before and afters. People start a weight loss program or something. They always tell you, you know, make sure you take a picture beforehand because you're going to regret it if you didn't, right? It's the same thing with any goal that you're setting, that if you didn't track it, even when you achieve that goal, sometimes you look back and you feel like, I got a job. You know, you forget, right? You forget about all the effort it took and all the accomplishments that you made along the way there. And so helping our job seekers, helping our clients to track that. Maybe they're not even tracking it. Some of them just flat out won't, right? They're like, oh, I keep it all up here, right? Then when you have a track record, you have an employment action plan where you're keeping track of all these things they've accomplished, because each time you check back, then you mark in, completed on this date, right? You will have something that's an incredible tool to share with them when they're in the dumps, when they're feeling like, oh, I need a break, this isn't working. Send them where they've come so far and tell them, don't stop. You need a break, go for a walk, do something outside, get some sunshine, some vitamin D, whatever it is, do something you love, and then get right back at moving in the direction that you want to go. Changing their actions is going to create motivation. So, you know, a main determinant of whether they reach their goals or not is really whether or not they believe in them. And lots of people don't believe in it. They doubt that they can accomplish what they want to. They've got stinking thinking, whatever you want to call it. And these little things of having clarity, putting action steps, you know, clearly coming up with steps that they're going to take, and having that accountability. That's a beautiful thing that in the careers that you're doing, that you're able to do, is to create that accountability for them. Follow up with them. Okay, you don't have another appointment. My staff at the Career Center, we always had to check back every 2 weeks. They would have to call anyone they met with 2 weeks ago. If they had not met with them or heard from them, they would call them and check in and say, hey, how are you doing on this? You know, wherever you're at with it, you know, if I'm here to help, come on back. Check back in with me. I am committed to seeing that you achieve the goals that you want. Stop any negative or unproductive thoughts. I used to do this when I was teaching psychology. And I would tell people, if you get any of that negative thoughts that pop in your head, especially when you're in the worst spaces, and we've been through a lot of this in the last 2 years, right? When you're being, you know, inundated from every side about, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Why'd you do that? Or, you know, you should do this, all of these different things, or you didn't do this well enough, all that stuff. One thing I used to do with my students, when I would have them put out, you know, what are those things that you don't think you can do, or you can't accomplish, or you doubt that you can? And then I would challenge them to literally stay, okay, this is going to, hopefully I won't startle you, but I would have them, you know, whenever those thoughts popped in their head, I would have them literally go, stop. And they're looking at me like, okay, this gal's, my professor's nutty, right? She's lost her mind. And I would have them practice it in class. And I would say, okay, so until our next class period, whenever that thought comes into your head, that negative self-talk comes in your head, I want you to physically express yourself that way and put your hand out. And by the end of the week, they would come back the next week and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have those thoughts. Because you created this, you know, that your neuroscience is incredible, right? And you created this environment where your brain gets to the point where it says, oh, I'm not even going to let that thought pop in because I know what's going to happen, right? And I do always tell them, you know, maybe don't do it in the grocery store or in line at the bank or something like that. Or, you know, people might be like, okay, she's kind of lost her rocker, right? But that is a great way to stop that negative thoughts when you're trying to change your perspective, or you're trying to help them change their perspective. Have them do it in front of you. They'll laugh. They'll probably laugh, and they'll be like, oh gosh, or embarrassed or whatever. But I'll bet you they'll go and try it when you're not around. So garbage in, garbage out. Their motivation is slacking. Ask them, what are you doing? What are you doing that's not fueling the positive aspects of your life and moving towards your goal? Get rid of it. Step out of it for now. Stop binging Netflix. Stop, you know, eating ice cream every day. You know, whatever it is that is not adding to their goals, is taking away. And let them know that, you know, they can use this adversity. There's a new book that came out. I haven't read it yet, but I've read and listened to the synopsis of it, you know, about your regrets, right? I think it was Simon Sinek wrote this book about regrets, the 7 regrets, and the impact that how beneficial it is to recognize your regrets and moving forward. So that's this idea also of using adversity for success and growth. You know, Edison tried thousands of times to create the light, and he kept going. And each time he didn't do it, he found a new way to or to not create the light until he figured out how to do it. So make excellence a habit. Anyone can do that, but most people don't see themselves as, you know, always achieving excellence. I think even the best of us at times will feel less than excellent in what we're doing. So final thought, and then, you know, or actually before I even, you know, go, I'm really at the end. Are there any questions, you guys? Are there, Greg, do we have any questions? Or if any of you want to even unmute yourself. I can't see anybody, I guess, because the way I have it.
Somebody wanted to know, when you're talking planners, what planners do you like? What do you find the most useful, or which ones do you like?
I have used a lot. Michael Hyatt has one called Full Focus that I really like, and it has a whole plan for how to use it. Oh my gosh, what is the other one? If I was in my, I've relocated my office. Otherwise, I would grab a bunch of them off my shelf right now, and I would just show you all the different ones that I have. There's a company called the Habit Company. I'm going to have to think about that. It might pop in my head. That has planners for everything you can imagine, from gratitude planners. For me, it doesn't really matter. Pick something you like. Pick something that's in colors that you like. And if you're a creative, you like to draw and think about stuff when you're planning stuff out, then get one that you can draw more in. Go to Barnes & Noble, usually has a lot of different types of planners, or go online and start exploring. Just put in, you know, schedule planners or planners, and you'll see all sorts of stuff. But I do really like the Full Focus ones. And his daughter came to work for the company some years ago. And so now they have some that look nicer, more colorful and stuff. It's not just the gray or the black, you know, if you want some more creative stuff. But the one thing I would say, whatever you look at, whatever you find, just make sure that it doesn't have you doing 500 things every day. It might have a planning section in the beginning, or maybe monthly, where you step back and you think about, okay, what am I doing this month? Yeah, yellow pad, absolutely. You know what? I have a book. You won't be able to see it probably because I have the a virtual backdrop on. I don't know if you can see that or not. But this is just a blank notebook and blank notepad, and I have books and books and books, and that I go back to and pull stuff out, and I put. But you know, and another thing I do is I use Microsoft Notes a lot. For keeping track of stuff. But I like a planner that's simple, and it has at least those three things. What are your three focuses? So on that.
Hey, Keri, I got to wrap you up. Quick question. Somebody said, we have a student or two on here. What's one piece of advice you can give them? What's that advice for students?
Don't go it alone. That's my advice. Do not go it alone. Do not feel like you are on this journey with your career by yourself. Get to know your career center, get to know a coach, a mentor, someone that's in your career that's further along, that's willing to just meet with you occasionally, to help you, knowing I'm going to meet with that person again next week or next month or what have you, to keep going in the direction. But that's what I would say. Don't go it alone, and make sure that you take a tiny step. You have some action you're taking in the direction of your goal every single day. And my little quote there, the moment you begin taking daily action, your motivation begins to grow and propels you toward achieving the life of your design. And that's my wish for you, that you all are able to maintain your motivation, keep doing what you love to do. So
awesome. Hey, a couple things wrap up real fast. Rosalinda, we always take pictures on LinkedIn. If you guys maybe turn your cameras on, start doing the do's, as she says, get it looking good. But I do want to thank Keri for presenting today. It was awesome, motivational, really appreciate it. It always, you know, sometimes we get, even those of us that are 10s on the focused part, we just sometimes get so focused, we lose track and the motivation and everything. So really appreciate that. I want to shout out to our other two. I know I have two more CPA members on, if they can introduce themselves real fast. Jackie, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Jackie Kennedy Harris, and I am the corporate business partner for the Central Valley. And awesome. Thank you all for being here.
And Kimberly, are you on? I think I saw you on here. Kimberly, you're around? Oh, yeah, she's proctoring. She
introduced herself. She's proctoring right now. So Let me do it for her. Kimberly is with the LA County Office of Education, and she's one of our board members for the Central Region, and we're pleased to have her as well. She's in education. So thank you, Keri, Keri.
Rosalinda, I'm gonna let you take pictures, and then I'm gonna share a couple other things because I see everyone's like cameras like on my first screen. It looks amazing.
Right.
It looks
So let's
amazing.
do
It
this,
does.
everybody. We're gonna do 2 shots. So go ahead and grab your hair, fluff it up. If you want to remove your glasses, you can do so. Keep them on. Here we go. And let's
Also,
do a
Rosalind,
thumbs up.
I have to say thank you. Thank you so much again for having me here. And any way I can help any of you, I love this. And now that I'm self-employed again, I have a little more time. If any of you want to ask me anything, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to talk to you and help and mentor you, guide you in any way that I possibly can. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Keri. All right, let's take our first group shot. I'm going to ask for everyone to give me a big smile, get yourself centered, take a look at your camera, make sure that you're centered in and not kind of like on the bottom. So go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let's look excited. 1, 2, and 3. Hold on, we got the first one. So we're going to do the second page here. Wonderful. Look how great all of you look. Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
You should be getting a survey emailed out shortly. We'd love for you to fill it out. Just kind of your feedback on today, what you love about the webinars. If you'd love to present yourself, we are always looking for that next topic. Anything you specialize in or think you could share information or you know somebody, we'd love to hear about it. Final thing, we are like a month and a half away from our state conference. We are super excited. Unfortunately, we are virtual this year. April 26th and 27th, it's only $50. We have some great presenters already lined up. We have more coming in. We're gonna have raffle prizes. It's a great 2 days. We did it last year virtual. We had over like 150 people. We know we're gonna get there again. You can go to our website, CPA, calplacement.org/workforce, or take a picture with your phone of the QR code and you can take you right there.
Yeah, we'd love for you guys to really fill out the surveys. Our numbers are kind of low. And I think we have maybe at least over 30, 40 people on this call. So we'd really appreciate it. If it's a concern about your name, then you can put Jane Doe or John Doe on it. We just really want to get the feedback. So again, we do appreciate you taking the time to do that so we can get those numbers out.
Awesome. I see Rosalind in the chat. If you want to actually speak at our state conference, it's fun. I've done it for 2 years now. I think I'm going to do it this year virtually. So yeah, there's the call for proposals link. We'd love for you to speak at the state. And then $50. Yeah, come join us at the state conference. Ton of fun. Do it virtual. Definitely be with us in person the year after. With that, I want to respect all your time. So we're probably all hungry. Love having all of you here. Look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.
And if you're interested in being a speaker on one of these weekly webinars or every other bi-monthly webinars, put that information in the evaluation forms. And for those of you that filled that out on the last one, we're going to be reaching out to you soon.
Keri, will you share your PowerPoint with us?
A celebration to all the women for International Women's Day yesterday, and let's just celebrate all month, all year. And with that, I also want to celebrate all the men. You know, I want to celebrate all of you for celebrating women and for all of that you do as well.
On our website, we have all the webinars posted along with the PowerPoint as well. So if you missed something or you want to use it.
Hi, my name is Lisa Revilla, and I work with the Merced County Office of Education, and I'm a proud member of California Placement Association.
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I work with Merced County Office of Education. I'm a proud member of the CPA Northern Region.
Hi, my name is Denise Crawford, and I work at Bakersfield College, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association Central Region.
Hi, I'm Rosalinda Rivas, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association.